welcome to our deep dive all about artificial intelligence. You sent in some pretty interesting sources for this one.
Yeah, some really fascinating stuff.
A lot of them, actually, spanning back
A
centuries.
lot of historical stuff.
Yeah. Some go as far back as ancient myths and philosophy, all the way to really cutting-edge research.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. So we're going to be on a mission here to trace how those early ideas about AI have evolved into this really powerful force we see shaping the world today.
It's really fascinating to see just how long humans have been captivated by the idea of creating artificial beings. I think a lot of times we think of AI as this modern concept, but it's really deeply intertwined with our history and our philosophical musings.
Yeah, I was really surprised to find articles about AI in ancient Greece and China.
Yeah.
That's not what you'd usually picture when you think about the history of technology.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at Talus of Crete, for instance,
Yeah.
From Greek mythology, he was a giant bronze automaton tasked with protecting the island. And it's just a perfect example of how the ancients imagined artificial beings with a very specific purpose, kind of like the specialized AI systems that we have today.
It's wild to think about those myths, like they're foreshadowing some of the things we're achieving with AI now.
Absolutely. And, it wasn't just myths.
Right.
If you think back to early philosophers, like Aristotle, they grappled with the implications of artificial intelligence, pondering the concept of artificial slaves and how these machines could potentially reshape society.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, what Aristotle would think of our modern day anxieties about automation and robots taking over jobs.
Whoa, absolutely. And it highlights how AI isn't just about building clever machines. It's also about understanding what it even means to be human, and how we relate to these artificial creations.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the human element and how we integrate these advancements into our lives and our societies. But, before we jump too far ahead, I kind of want to go back to the basics a little bit and just talk about what AI actually is today. Because, it feels like everybody's using the term, but I'm not sure everybody understands what it encompasses.
Yeah, no, you're right. AI, it's a bit of a buzzword these days. And while there's no single universally accepted, definition of AI,
Oh, okay.
the core idea revolves around computational systems that can perceive their environment, learn from data, and then react in ways that we would consider intelligent.
So it's not just about pre-programmed instructions. It's about the machines actually being able to learn and adapt, kind of like we do.
Exactly. That's where techniques like machine learning come in,
Yeah.
particularly neural networks and deep learning. These approaches are a big reason for the recent AI boom because they allow machines to sift through these massive amounts of data and identify patterns and make predictions.
Okay, so it's like teaching a computer to think for itself in a way.
In a simplified sense, yes.
Right.
It's sort of like, when you're teaching a dog a new trick, you're providing it with data in the form of commands and rewards, and the dog learns to perform that desired behavior. Machine learning works, kind of in a similar way. We feed vast data sets to these algorithms, and they learn to recognize patterns and make decisions based on that data.
That's a great analogy that makes it much easier to grasp. But with all this talk about machines learning and thinking, how do we even know if a machine is truly intelligent?
Well, that is a question that has sparked, just countless debates.
Yeah.
And it leads us to a really fascinating concept, the Turing test.
Yes, the Turing test, the one where you try to figure out if you're talking to a human or a machine, right? I remember reading about that.
Exactly. Alan Turing, a brilliant mathematician and computer scientist, he proposed this test back in 1950. And it's kind of like an imitation game where you're having this conversation with two, unseen participants, one human, one machine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't tell which one is the machine, then it's said to have passed the Turing test.
Oh, okay. So, are chatbots and virtual assistants passing the Turing test these days? We've got Siri and Alexa and all that.
Well, some have come close, but there's a lot of debate about whether any machine has truly passed the test, Early programs like Eliza, which simulated a psychotherapist, back in the 60s, that actually fooled some people back then. But today we have Siri, Cortana, Google Duplex, and others that sound incredibly human-like. But whether they truly understand what they're saying is a completely different matter.
Right. It's like that saying, if it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it might still be a very sophisticated AI mimicking a duck.
Right.
So how do we get past just the appearance of intelligence.
Well, that gets to the core of a philosophical debate surrounding AI, this question of consciousness.
Yeah.
Like John Searle's Chinese room argument challenges the notion that simply processing information and responding correctly equals true understanding. His thought experiment kind of suggests that a machine could manipulate symbols and, potentially pass the Turing test without actually grasping the meaning like a human does.
So even if an AI can hold a conversation about a really complex topic, it might not actually understand the nuances, the emotions, the context behind the words.
Exactly. That's a key distinction to keep in mind as we, delve deeper into the world of AI and its implications. And speaking of implications, AI's impact on the way we communicate is, it's already pretty significant.
That's true. I mean, we talk to our phones, we rely on chatbots for customer service, even have virtual assistants helping us schedule appointments. It's like every day our communication is becoming more and more intertwined with AI.
And what's really interesting is that AI isn't just changing how we talk, it's actually creating entirely new forms of communication.
Oh, wow.
That line between human to human and human to machine interaction it's becoming increasingly blurred, creating, this whole new landscape of communication possibilities.
That's a really good point. And speaking of changing landscapes, AI is also making some pretty big waves in other industries like transportation, with self-driving cars becoming more and more of a reality.
Yeah. It's just incredible to think that the seeds of this technology were actually planted way back at the 1939 World's Fair in New York.
Oh, really?
They showcased an automated highway system, even though the technology just wasn't quite there yet.
Wow. So we've been dreaming this for a long time.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then in 2010, Google, made those dreams a reality with their groundbreaking Google car.
Yeah.
And that really marked a turning point where self-driving cars went from science fiction to, a tangible reality.
And Google's really pushed the boundaries on this self-driving technology, haven't they? Didn't they collect just this incredible amount of data to train their AI?
They have. Their self-driving cars have logged millions of miles, amassing something like 300 years worth of human driving experience. And that data is just, it's crucial for training the algorithms that allow these cars to navigate and make decisions.
It's mind-boggling, just the sheer amount of data involved there. But it's not just Google anymore, is it?
No, definitely not.
I mean, other players are getting in on the self-driving game.
Oh, for sure. You've got Tesla's autopilot system is a big one. Mercedes is pushing the boundaries of driver-assisted technologies.
Right.
Even traditional car manufacturers are really heavily investing in autonomous vehicles now. So it's pretty clear that self-driving cars are not a passing fad. They're here to stay, and they're poised to really transform how we think about transportation.
Okay, so let's dive into how these self-driving cars are actually changing things. What are some of the key ways they're actually reshaping mobility?
Well, the impact is multifaceted, but I think we can break it down into 5 key areas. The first, and perhaps the most obvious one, is their integration into a larger ecosystem of smart systems.
So it's not just about the car itself, it's about how it connects to the world around it.
Exactly. Imagine smart roads, connected infrastructure, and vehicles communicating with each other. It's like a symphony of technology all working together to make transportation smoother, safer, and more efficient.
It's like those futuristic cities you see in movies where everything's connected and seamlessly integrated.
That's a good analogy. One example of this is automated vehicle platooning,
Okay.
where cars travel in this close formation, like a high-tech train, and all of it controlled by AI. And, this could actually increase road capacity by, almost 500%, which would be a game changer for traffic congestion.
That'd be amazing. No more rush hour nightmares.
Yeah.
What about safety? That seems like another area where self-driving cars could really have a huge impact.
Absolutely. Human error is the leading cause of road accidents.
Oh, for sure.
And self-driving cars, they have the potential to significantly reduce those accidents by just taking human fallibility out of the equation. AI systems, they can monitor the environment constantly, make these split-second decisions, and react much faster than any human driver could.
Yeah, AI doesn't get distracted by text messages or drowsy behind the wheel or anything like that.
Precisely. And this could potentially save millions of lives. In fact, some experts believe that widespread adoption of self-driving cars could actually make car accidents, a rarity.
Wow. That would be amazing. It's incredible to think about all the potential benefits.
Okay.
But there are also some broader implications for industries beyond just transportation,
Right.
right?
The ripple effects are going to extend way beyond the automotive industry, leading to some like really significant disruptions
Yeah.
in areas like insurance, healthcare, parking, even law enforcement.
It's like this domino effect, with one change just triggering a cascade of others.
Exactly. Like, for example, if accidents decrease so dramatically, car insurance premiums, they could just plummet.
Oh, wow.
Hospitals would see fewer trauma cases related to car accidents. Parking garages, they might become obsolete. Even the legal system, they're going to need to adapt to, all these new challenges around liability and responsibility when humans are no longer behind the wheel.
It's fascinating, but also, a bit daunting to think about all these like interconnected changes.
Yeah.
It's like a whole new world is opening up.
It is. And speaking of a new world, let's move on to our fourth impact area.
Big.
How self-driving cars will transform the very concept of time on the road. What will we do in a world where we don't actually have to actively drive?
Right.
Well, our cars will become mobile spaces, where we can work, read, socialize, or even just, take a nap
Yeah.
while our vehicle is safely navigating the streets.
It's like turning our cars into extensions of our homes or offices. So no more stressful commutes, just productive or relaxing time. It's almost like gaining back like hours in the day.
That's the potential.
Wow.
And finally, let's not forget the environmental benefits.
Right.
Self-driving cars have the potential to significantly reduce carbon emissions.
Okay, how so? Even if they're driving themselves, it's still a car burning fuel.
True. But the efficiency gains are, really substantial. Imagine a world where most cars are driving themselves. They can optimize fuel consumption, travel in those super efficient platoons that we were talking about, and even lead to lighter vehicle designs overall.
So it's a combination of smarter technology and like a shift in how we use these vehicles that could lead to a greener future.
Exactly. And, reducing congestion, which is a major contributor to emissions, that's another bonus. It's a potential win-win, both for our planet and our wallets.
Now, all this talk about self-driving cars and, all the sophistication of the AI involved, it has me thinking about another area where AI is making a big impact, and that's the military. And I have to admit, when I think about AI in the military, my mind goes to, well, killer robots.
It's a common reaction, and while killer robots might seem like something out of science fiction, the truth is that AI is transforming modern warfare in ways that were, just unthinkable a few decades ago. It's changing how we fight, how we think about military power, and it's raising some pretty profound ethical questions.
It's like we're stepping into a whole new era of warfare,
Yeah.
one where machines play a much more prominent role.
Exactly. And one of the most significant shifts in recent years has been the rise of drone warfare.
Okay.
Unmanned aerial vehicles, or drones, as we commonly call them.
Right.
They're a staple of many modern military operations now.
Yeah, I mean, we hear about drones all the time in the news, but it still feels like kind of abstract to me.
Yeah.
How are they actually changing the way that wars are fought?
Well, drones represent, I think, a fundamental shift in the nature of warfare. Instead of soldiers on the ground, we now have what they call desk pilots operating these aircraft remotely from thousands of miles away. And they can conduct surveillance, gather intelligence, and even carry out targeted strikes.
It's almost like playing a video game.
Yeah.
Except the consequences are very real and very deadly.
That's a powerful observation, and it touches on one of the most contentious aspects of drone warfare, the detachment it creates. Instead of boots on the ground, we have, screens and joysticks, and it raises these questions about accountability, the potential for civilian casualties and just the psychological impact on those who are operating these machines from afar.
One of the articles that you sent, written by Simon Jenkins, argues that drones are often like counterproductive,
Right.
create more problems than they solve.
He's not alone in that view.
Okay.
I mean, critics argue that drones can actually destabilize regions, increase resentment and lead to even more violence in the long run. And then there's, the whole issue of collateral damage,
Right.
which is the unintended killing of civilians, which is a constant concern with these drone strikes.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers. I mean, on the one hand, you have this really advanced technology that can gather intelligence and strike with precision. But on the other hand, you have the potential for these unintended consequences and, these ethical dilemmas. And it just feels like this dehumanization of war.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop there,
Right.
We're also witnessing this trend toward miniaturization and swarm technology in the world of drones.
Swarm technology, so like a swarm of bees.
Exactly. Imagine hundreds or even thousands of these like tiny drones,
Wow.
each equipped with sensors and potentially, even weapons, working together as this collective unit. It's like taking drone warfare to a whole new level of, well, complexity
Okay.
and frankly scariness.
Yeah, that does sound like pretty terrifying, like
Yeah.
something out of a science fiction nightmare.
It might sound like science fiction, but it's closer to reality than you might think. The U.S. military has already tested micro drones that can, swarm and operate autonomously. And these tiny drones, they could overwhelm enemy defenses, they could gather intelligence, and even carry out attacks.
It's incredible. And also
Yeah.
just a bit unsettling to think about how this technology is evolving. It's like we're at this turning point where the line between science fiction and reality is becoming increasingly blurred.
We are, and it leads us to the, ultimate expression of AI in warfare.
Yeah.
The one that often sparks the most fear and debate.
Right.
Killer robots.
Killer robots. I thought those were just a Hollywood invention. Do they actually exist?
Well, not in the way they're often portrayed in movies, but the precursors are here.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about lethal autonomous weapon systems, or laws.
Right.
These are AI-powered weapons that can select and attack targets without direct human intervention.
So basically, machines are making life or death decisions.
That's the unsettling reality, and it's raising all sorts of, all these serious ethical and legal questions.
You sent me an article about a pledge signed by AI experts refusing to work on such weapons. And, figures like Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking have been very vocal about the dangers of, an AI arms race.
It's a growing concern, and the lack of international regulations around this and the potential for these weapons to fall into, the wrong hands. I mean, those are very real threats. We're essentially talking about giving machines the power to kill, without human oversight.
Right.
And that's a prospect that should give us all pause. It raises these fundamental questions about accountability, the nature of warfare, and even, the future of humanity itself.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
AI has the potential to, like, revolutionize our world in so many positive ways, but it also has the potential to unleash a level of destruction that we've never seen before.
That's the crux of the dilemma that we face. AI is a powerful tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad,
Right.
It's up to us as a society to decide how we want to wield this power and what kind of future we want to create.
Well, this is a lot to think about. I think this is a good place to take a moment to reflect.
Yeah.
And, process all this. We'll be back soon to continue our exploration of AI then and now.
Yeah, a lot to consider, for sure. Before the break, we were talking about the potential for AI to like revolutionize warfare
Right.
and how that raises some pretty serious ethical questions.
Yeah, like the whole idea of a machines making these, life or death decisions.
Right.
That's like pretty unsettling. It feels
Yeah.
like we're crossing a line that, we might not be able to come back from.
I understand that concern, and it's one that a lot of people share, but I think it's also important to remember that AI is simply a tool, right? And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad, It's really up to us as a society to ensure that we're developing and using AI responsibly.
Okay, I get that, but it still feels like we're in uncharted territory here. It's like we're writing the rule book for this whole new world as we go along.
That's a great way to put it, and that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to examine the potential consequences of AI, both positive and negative, and to make sure that we're making informed choices about how this technology is developed and deployed.
So how do we even begin to like navigate this new landscape? What are some like key things we need to be thinking about?
Well, I think one crucial aspect is transparency.
Okay.
We need to understand how these AI systems actually work, like how they make decisions, what data they're using to inform those decisions.
It's like we need to, lift the hood and see what's going on inside these black boxes.
Okay. Exactly.
You can't just blindly trust that the AI is always going to make the, right choice.
We need to be able to scrutinize these systems, right? Identify any potential biases and ensure that they're aligned with our values.
Okay, so transparency is key. But even with transparency, there's still the issue of accountability. Like, who's responsible when an AI system makes a mistake? Especially when it comes to something as serious as, like, warfare.
That's question that people are still debating, and there are no easy answers. I mean, we need to develop these clear legal frameworks and ethical guidelines to address those issues. For example, if an autonomous weapon system causes unintended harm, who's held responsible? Is it the developer, the operator, the military chain of command?
Yeah, it's a real legal and ethical minefield. Like we're playing catch up, trying to adapt our existing laws and ethical principles to this rapidly evolving technology.
We are, and it's not just about warfare. I mean,
Yeah.
these same questions apply to all these other domains where AI is being used. Healthcare, finance, even, the justice system.
It's like we're opening Pandora's box, you know?
Mhm.
AI has this potential to revolutionize so many aspects of our lives, but we also need to be really careful not to unleash these unintended consequences. It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, but I think it's a responsibility that we can meet.
Mhm.
I think we need to approach AI with this balance of optimism and caution, embracing its potential while remaining vigilant about the risks.
Right, it's about finding that balance. So let's talk more about like the potential risks.
Okay,
You mentioned earlier that even the most sophisticated AI systems can make mistakes.
they can.
What are some of the like reasons why that happens?
Well, one key factor is that AI systems are only as good as the data that they're trained on.
Right.
If the data is biased, incomplete, inaccurate, the AI is going to reflect those flaws.
So even if like the algorithm itself is, perfect,
Right.
if it's being fed like bad data,
Right.
it's going to make bad decisions.
Yeah. Exactly. And in the real world, data is rarely perfect. It's often messy, incomplete, and subject to human biases.
Oh, right.
And those biases can then be like amplified by AI systems,
Yeah.
potentially leading to, unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
You sent an article about how facial recognition algorithms have been shown to be less accurate in identifying people of color,
Right.
which raises some like really serious concerns about racial bias.
That's a prime example, right?
Yeah.
Of how AI can perpetuate, these existing biases. And it's not just facial recognition. I mean, these biases can creep into algorithms used for everything, from loan applications to criminal justice risk assessments.
Yeah, that is a bit unsettling to think about. Like these biases can be encoded into systems that are, making decisions affecting people's lives.
It is, and that's why it's so important to have like diversity,
Right.
in the teams that are developing these AI and diverse data sets to try to like mitigate those biases.
Okay, yeah. Diverse perspectives can really help identify and address these, potential blind spots. What else can we do to like minimize the risks and maximize the benefits of AI?
Well, I think another really key area is education.
Okay.
You know, we need to make sure that people understand how AI works, what its limitations are, and what the potential impact is.
It's like we need to, demystify AI and make it more accessible to everybody, right?
Exactly.
Not just the tech experts.
The more people understand AI, the better equipped we'll all be to, navigate this landscape and shape a future where AI benefits all of humanity.
So it's not just about teaching people how to, code or build AI systems. It's about like fostering this broader understanding of how it works and what its implications are and how we can use it responsibly.
Right. And it's also about empowering people to, ask questions.
Great.
And to challenge assumptions.
Right.
And to demand accountability. We can't just, passively accept whatever the tech industry throws at us.
So it's about being informed citizens in the age of AI.
That's a great point.
That's a great point. But, all this talk about like responsible AI and mitigating risks, it makes it sound like we need to be like constantly on guard, suspicious of this technology.
I wouldn't say suspicious. I mean, definitely aware and engaged. It's like anything new and powerful. There's potential for both good and harm. And I think we need to be thoughtful about how we develop and use AI, but that doesn't mean we should, shy away from its potential benefits.
Right. It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah.
So what are some of the areas where you see like AI having the most positive impact? Like where are you most excited about its potential?
One area that I'm really excited about is healthcare.
Yeah, okay.
AI has the potential to, really revolutionize how we diagnose, treat, and manage diseases.
One of the articles that you sent talked about how AI is being used to analyze medical images like x-rays and scans.
Right.
To detect things like cancer earlier and more accurately than humans can.
That's just one example. I mean, AI can also help to like personalize treatment plans, predict patient outcomes, and even assist with, surgery.
Wow.
Imagine a world where AI is helping to prevent diseases,
Right.
providing this personalized medicine,
Hmm.
making healthcare more accessible and affordable.
That sounds amazing. It's like having, a team of expert doctors right at your fingertips, available
Hmm.
24/7.
Right.
Are there other fields where you see AI making a similar impact?
Oh, absolutely. Education.
Okay.
Education is another area where there's huge potential.
Yeah.
AI can personalize learning experiences, provide tailored feedback, and even identify those students who might be struggling and, need that extra support.
So it's like having this personal tutor for every student, helping them to learn at their own pace and in a way that's, most effective for them.
Exactly. And AI can also help make education more engaging, more interactive,
Yeah.
using things like virtual reality, gamification to create these immersive learning experiences.
Yeah, it sounds like AI could really like transform the way we learn, making it more personalized, accessible, and engaging.
I think it can. And those are just two examples, I mean, AI is being used in agriculture, environmental science, transportation, so many others.
Wow.
The possibilities are really endless.
Yeah.
And I think we're really just scratching the surface of what's possible. As AI continues to evolve, I think we're going to see even more amazing and transformative applications.
Well, that's a thought-provoking note to kind of end on. I think it's time for another pre-pause to reflect, and we'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive into the world of AI then and now. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of AI. Before the break, we were getting into some really exciting possibilities for how AI could revolutionize fields like healthcare and education.
Yeah, it is really inspiring to think about how AI can be used to, address some of humanity's biggest challenges.
It is. But amid all this excitement about, AI's potential, we've also been talking about some of the risks and the ethical dilemmas that come with this technology.
Yeah.
It's like this balancing act between harnessing AI's power for good while also being uh, cautious about unintended consequences.
Right, exactly. And one of the most fundamental questions we keep coming back to is what actually constitutes intelligence in a machine? We've talked about the Turing test and how it assesses a machine's ability to, mimic human conversation, but does that truly equate to intelligence in the way we understand it?
That's the core of the debate, right? I
Yeah.
mean, can a machine that can process information, respond to questions, and even write poetry truly be considered like intelligent in the same way as a human?
That's a question that has, puzzled philosophers and scientists for decades.
Yeah,
Some argue that true intelligence requires consciousness, self-awareness, emotions, subjective experiences,
right.
things that are still, largely absent in machines, even the most advanced ones.
So even if an AI can, write a symphony that moves us to tears, it might not actually be like experiencing those emotions itself.
That's the key distinction.
Mm.
It's the difference between simulating intelligence and actually possessing it. And that difference is, it's really crucial when we think about the ethical implications of AI.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the whole concept of machine consciousness. Like, is it even possible for a machine to be like truly conscious,
Hmm.
to experience the world in the same way that we do?
That's a question that goes, I think, beyond the realm of computer science, into the realm of philosophy and even metaphysics.
Right.
There's no scientific consensus on what consciousness is or how it arises, let alone whether it can exist in non-biological
It's
systems.
like we're bumping up against the limits of our own understandings. Like we're trying to define something that we don't even fully grasp ourselves.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes this whole conversation so, fascinating and challenging.
Right.
As AI continues to evolve, it's forcing us to grapple with some of these most fundamental questions about what it means to be human.
Yeah, it's like AI is holding up a mirror to ourselves, making us question our own nature and our place in the universe.
I like that analogy. It's a humbling experience in a way. AI is challenging us to rethink all of our assumptions about intelligence, about consciousness, even what it means to be alive.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the philosophical and the ethical implications of AI, but let's zoom out for a moment and consider like the bigger picture. Where do you see AI heading in the next, decade or two? What are like some of the biggest changes that we can expect to see?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the most significant areas of growth is going to be in the realm of personalized AI.
Hmm.
Imagine having AI systems that are like tailored to your individual needs, your preferences, your
It's
goals.
like a virtual assistant that, knows you better than you know yourself.
Exactly. It could help you manage your health, your finances, your education, even your social life. You know,
Wow.
it'd be like having a personalized team of experts at your disposal 204/7.
That sounds both incredibly convenient and uh, also a little bit scary.
It is both. And that's why it's, so important to think about the privacy and security implications of, personalized AI. We need to make sure these systems are designed with, really robust safeguards to protect our data and ensure that they're being used ethically.
Yeah, you sent an article about the potential for AI to create, echo chambers or filter bubbles where people are only exposed to information that, confirms their existing beliefs.
Hmm.
That's a concerning possibility.
It is. We need to be really vigilant about how AI is used to, shape our perceptions and influence our decisions. I mean, we don't want to end up in a world where AI is being used to, like, manipulate or control us.
Right. It's like we need to be aware of the potential for AI to be used for, both good and bad purposes. Like it's
Yeah.
this powerful tool. We need to make sure that it's used wisely.
I completely agree. And that brings us, back to the importance of education and awareness.
Yeah.
The more people that understand AI, its potential and its risks, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this landscape and shape a future where AI benefits, everyone.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI then and now, I'm left with this sense of both wonder and caution. The possibilities seem endless, but so do the potential pitfalls. It's a really exciting but also daunting time to be alive.
I share that sentiment. AI is a powerful force that's, reshaping our world in these profound ways, and it's really up to us to ensure that we use this power wisely, ethically, and for the benefit of all humankind.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through the world of AI then and now. We hope this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity and given you some food for thought as we continue to navigate this fascinating and ever-evolving technological landscape. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep imagining the possibilities.